My name is Jason Holcomb. I'm a gay man. I came out when I was 31, but I've known I was gay my whole life. My dad was a preacher, which made things really bad. So, but it wasn't until after both my parents passed away that I came out. I could probably never do that while they were alive. So. Um, my mom died October 5th, 2001. My dad died about 5 years later. I was really close to my mom growing up in Texas, pretty much. I remember being probably 7, 8 years old, having experiences with other boys. My sister even caught me, and told mom, and of course mom said, "Don't ever say that again," and she was total denial. But that's what kind of Christian people do with their kids and parents especially. But my sister was lesbian too. She came out when she was 16. I was probably 13 at the time. And I saw the way the family reacted to her. And I saw what was going on. People were being, especially men, gay men back then, were actually being tortured. People were taping them to flagpoles and, in the nude, and there's just all kinds of things that made you not want to come out of the closet back then. The 90s were pretty rough. And seeing how my family reacted to her and seeing how the world reacted to gays, I was never going to be that. I tried to pray the gay away. I tried everything you can think of. There's no cure for who you are. You're just a person, and it's a rough road, especially for anyone today who's still dealing with their feelings, because if you're not allowed to express who you are, then what's the point of freedom? Why are we even trying? But yeah, I was 31, and I had a great support system. I had great friends. I was a construction worker with pit bulls. No one ever would have thought anything of it. My whole life was a lie. I used to have to make up lies all the time. Yeah, I was with this girl. Me and her did this. And I was actually, in 2001, I was engaged to be married to a girl. I was 21. Mom was really sick. That's when she died. It was all at the same time. But this girl that I was supposed to marry, she had an abortion, and it was a rough time, and mom died all in the same month. So I decided, it's just time to move back to Beatrice from Omaha. I was in Omaha at the time. And, I just sat there one day and decided to go home. And for 10 years, it's probably 10 years, I never had a relationship with anybody except for my dog. But, small town, it's even worse. Everybody knows you. Everybody knows what you do, where you go, and you gotta live a complete lie. And turn to drugs and alcohol. So that's what I did for about 10 years, and it got me nowhere. I just did construction and sold pot and just lived the small town life, walked around with my dogs. I was known as the guy walking without his shirt on with 2 pit bulls all the time. I accepted failure. I was gonna be alone forever. I have 5 brothers and sisters, and I'm in contact with one. And it might not be because I'm gay, it might just be because, that's how families go, especially when the parents aren't there anymore. But I have a sister who was born on the same day, year before me, exactly to the day after my mom had her tubes tied. I was born, which was weird. But she's about the only one who continued to love me, continued to be strong for me. She's a recovering addict. She's got her own battle, My lesbian sister, nobody even knows where she's at. She had a big problem and disappeared, and I haven't talked to her for years. So the only way I tracked her down one time, my friend runs this thing on the internet, and she tracked her down by her social security number, but total out of contact with her. So my only family pretty much is my husband and his family, and one sister, and I've got nieces and nephews and stuff, but no parents, no grandparents, no aunts, no uncles, so this is it. Sometimes you take for granted the help you get from people, but it's been friends. I've had great friends. They're my family. I kind of left them all behind, but I still talk to them through Facebook. So, but they were really happy for me, just because I don't know. That little town was not appropriate for anybody. We did make the papers. We were the first to get married, same-sex marriage in Gage County in Nebraska. We made the Omaha World Herald, the Lincoln Journal-Star, Beatrice Daily Sun. Me and my husband are holding our certificate. And, it was a proud moment. This was right after they legalized it, of course, and then we went and got tattoos, and my wedding ring is actually tattooed on because, I'm scatterbrained, so I won't lose it, and it's forever, you can't ever help who you love. It's really sad that we had to go through the 90s with the homophobia. There was one kid in our school, and I think everybody knew he was gay because he couldn't hide it. And I was blessed enough to be able to compose myself to a manner to where no one could tell if I was or wasn't. And it is a blessing. It is a gift, because you never know what kind of guy is going to be violent towards homosexuals. And I condemned homosexuality. I made fun of gays. I just hated that part of me. I couldn't stand it. I felt it was so wrong when, your dad's a preacher and you're just raised to believe that it's wrong. It's so hard to break that habitual cycle of ignorance, really. I know what the Bible says. I've read the Bible many times, and there's lots of things in there that you can take from it and put wherever you want. But I do know that back in the day, homosexuals were regarded as in the same category as thieves and rapists and murderers, and they were thrown in prisons, and they were stoned to death, just like a woman who has sex with another man. They were condemned to death. It was a crime. It was a total immoral crime to them. And I understand back then how, they could see it as that or whatever. I understand that. And because they're still stuck in Old Testament ways and things like that, I understand that. But, when Jesus came, he said, I make all things new. He said, love each other. That's all he said. He didn't say love each other based on their gender or their sexuality or who they are. Because some people are really hard to love. He wants you to love the people that are unlovable, not the people that are easy to love. It's easy to love someone who's beautiful and looks like $1 million. Every time they walk into a room, everybody looks at them and they automatically love them because of their beauty and their looks and their, whatever level they're at in society. But it's hard to love the person who can't even love themselves out of fear. It's so hard. And there's a lot of people that just need a hug to get through the day, and nobody's there to hug them. And it's just really sad because of fear. They do these studies, and Westminster actually has something coming up. I don't know if it already happened or not, but it was on going up against conversion therapy.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't express enough how bad that is. You're basically it's like sitting someone down and saying you're white when they're black, or vice versa. You just can't do that to somebody. All you're gonna do is mess them up for life. I've done some things I'm not proud of because of how terrifying it is just to be you. I've done, I've done a lot of things, especially drug-wise, that just to get through, just to be in a group with people who are going to accept me for that, at least. That's why drugs and alcohol are such a problem, especially in teens, because they just want to be accepted, and we all do, you know. I feel cowardly because I waited until I was 31. I feel like there was plenty of times I could have been more of a man, you know. It was just scary, you know. Life's scary, especially when you build this perception of who you are, and you have your family and you have your friends, and they're all staring at you through this window, and all of a sudden you pull the shade down and you let it go again, and you're someone different in their eyes. You know, I don't think I was looked at any differently. I just think I was more cautionary, especially around males. Like, again, saying that I'm like this is better, because guys who are effeminate, guys who can't hide their gayness, or whatever you call it, their homosexuality, guys who cannot convince people on the outside that they're not weak or gay or attracted to men or attracted to anything different than the norm. They have such a hard time. They have a hard time in public. They have a hard time not being scared, because they might be smaller or weaker, you know. And so I think it restricts actions by many gay men. I think they're afraid to go, you know, walk down the street. I think they're just like, even my husband, he's 5'6". God, I hope that's right. And he has a short complex. He has a man complex, because he is so strong and he's so tough, but he just, you know, he thinks everybody looks down on him. And, you know, I understand his fears, because if I was in that position, I'd probably be afraid too of everything, you know. Things can get violent, and you don't want someone to act out of fear. That's the worst. So, but, you know, at 31, I was helping these kids at the park, and I met someone. He was about 19 or 20 at the time, and he was real open about who he was, you know, and in front of people and outspoken, and it just, you know, I had so much admiration for this guy, you know, just to be himself. And, you know, so I kind of magnetized towards him and started talking to him, and we actually developed kind of a relationship, but it wasn't like, you know, here we are as a couple relationship or anything like that. It was just a friendship to begin with. And then, you know, all those years, 10 years of being alone, I finally decided to let my walls down and fell in love with this guy. He was funny, he was a jokester, he said all the right things, you know, he's just a funny guy. I really liked the way he made me feel inside. He made me feel happy. And let's see, about 6 months, you know, we'd slept in cars together. We lived on the streets, kind of. I got kicked out of my place because I was sneaking him in at night, you know. I mean, it was just, we didn't really care. We just kind of were together all the time. And I had this younger friend named Shannon. She was younger at the time. It was just straight, like a big brother type relationship, and he kind of used her and was writing letters to her, and without me knowing it, and kind of used her as like a escape route. And so what I thought was going to be coming out was him letting me come out and him jumping in a closet and shutting the door. Like that day when I was coming out, that I found out all this was going on behind my back. And so I had another friend who took me to her house and luckily sat and talked to me, and because it was a very brutal time. I mean, you know, I waited all those years, I hid everything, and, you know, just kept everything so closed. And, you know, I'm sure there might have been a few people who might have guessed, but nobody knew. You know, it was a secret. It was absolutely 100% a secret. And so when I opened the floodgates and I was standing there all alone, you know, what do you do? You know, you don't have the one person you thought was going to be it. You don't have anything anymore. You have all this people talking. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So, of course, you know, there was always the suicidal thoughts and things like that. And if it wasn't for my friends, who knows what would happen. But luckily I had friends. And 3 days later, after I blew up Facebook and everything with me coming out, which was just felt like it's not even any weight. It was just life. First time in a long time, life had actually started flowing through me again. It was pretty amazing. I felt like a butterfly coming out of its cocoon, you know. I finally got my wings spread, and 3 days later, my husband came out, and he was only 16 at the time. And it wasn't even supposed to be any kind of relationship or nothing. It was just supposed to be a friendship. And, you know, the girl who introduced us, I'm pretty sure she liked me, and I'm pretty sure that she thought, you know, things were going to go that direction with me. But I think those feelings were from before, when I was still in the closet and I was still maybe flirting more than I should have and things like that, just to cover things up type stuff. And, one night, my husband, TJ, we were watching a movie downstairs. It was actually Kick-Ass, and he was laying here and she was laying there, and he leaned his head in, and I smelled his hair, and you know, this wasn't very long. This was around Christmas time, and it wasn't very long after all that had happened. And so that was an emotional wreck anyway. And she ended up leaving for the night, and I think it was around New Year's Eve and somewhere around there, and me and him just sat and talked, and we spent about 2 weeks in a car talking about everything. And it wasn't supposed to be like that, you know. I wasn't supposed to fall in love with a 16-year-old, but it was what it was, and I couldn't help it, and we just bonded completely. I had known his mom from way back in the day when I first moved to Nebraska. She was friends with my sister, actually. I didn't know this, you know, until, of course, later on. But yeah, I crashed her a couple times, and his mom busted me out one day on the deck, and she says, "Is my son gay?" And I said, "I don't know." And I just kind of smiled and laughed, because I can't lie. I'm not a very good liar. And so I ended up busting out my husband to his mom. And we, of course, you know, didn't know we were going to be married. We just, you know, were in love. We didn't know. We knew it was against the law at the time, you know. And it was 6 years. We've been together for about 6 years. And we've gone through everything a normal relationship. You know, I remember this bumper sticker said, "Why not let gays marry? Let them be miserable too." You know, and it's not like a misery, but it's just marriage, you know. Just the fact that I've been allowed to marry another man is unfathomable. I would have never dreamed of it in a million years. The fear and the anxiety. I remember I used to go to bars, and I'd have to run out the back door and just walk home without anybody knowing anything, because my hands would start shaking, and fear would just grip my body that somebody was going to find out. Somebody was going to catch me looking at another guy, or somebody was going to see through my facade of straightness, you know, and I would just run away, you know. It was so scary. So I know how people feel, and I just can't imagine being trapped in that cage still. So I always just tell everybody, you know, just be you, because you're never going to be happy. You're never going to find it unless you're 100% totally you. No edited version, no filter, no parental filter or friend filter. all the friends I ever had growing up are gone, most of them. You know, people try to impress their friends growing up. They're scared of what their friends might think. Most of those friends, you know, won't be there in 10 years. They won't be there in 5 years. They won't be there in 6 months. You'll have a whole new friend set. That's what growing up is about, you know, meeting new friends to find out who you like, and if they accept you for who you are, hold on to them. I have a few of those, which thank God I do. But you know, it's really hard it's hard to be friends with gay men, because if I try to be nice to them, if I try to compliment them, it always, you know, ends up trying to go deeper, you know. I'll see someone post on Facebook something sad, and I'll say something about it, and I'll be like, if you need to talk, I'm here, and I'll even message him, you know, and then it turns into them thinking that I want to start a relationship or something like that with them. And so it's really hard, like, because they're, I hate to say this, but they're so desperate for someone to just love them for who they are, not just want to, you know, have a one-nighter with them, but actually love them. You know, my mother was such a loving mother. She had 6 kids, you know, 4 girls, 2 boys. My brother's the oldest, I'm the youngest, so it was really rough for her. And she just loved, I mean, she loved us unconditionally. You know, I knew if I ever came out to her, it would have been okay. I was just so scared of my dad, really. So I know what love is. I know how to love. And so it's really scary to think that there's a lot of people out there who commit suicide because nobody will give them 10 minutes of uninterrupted attention for them to pour their soul out to them, you know, whether it's their mother, their father, their brother, their sister, even a total stranger. You know, in today's day and age, you almost have better luck going to a total stranger to pour your heart out to them, because there's no rejection, there's no sadness, there's, you know, no judgment. It's just total and honest, one-on-one, let me tell you who I am kind of thing. So, but yeah, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. It was a hard life. You know, my mom always told me, though, she always told me, you're gonna have a hard life. And it wasn't because I was gonna be a gay man. It was because I was gonna be a man in today's society. That alone's hard. You know, it's hard just to be somebody today, and to be someone who, you know, might not fit the common society standard is even harder. You know, I never understood how bad African Americans had it until I came out of the closet and saw how, you know, gay people were approached and treated. And, you know, I've had people yell things out the window, and it's normally towards my husband, you know, so of course I'm going to get upset about it. But and it's not just that, it's everywhere. You know, I had 2 Marines one time. Me and my husband broke up, and I had 2 Marines one time try to get a group of people to jump me downtown Lincoln. I had just come out of a gay club. I had Mickey Mouse ears on. And I was having a great night, and someone stopped me and they said, hey, those 2 guys over there are trying to get people to jump you. And I'm like, what? You know, I'm like, what? And of course, drunk me has to go over and talk to these Marines, you know, and, you know, of course I'm 10 feet tall when I'm under the influence of alcohol, and it was a birthday night, so it was worse. So I approached these 2 guys and told them, you know, why would you want to do that? And I was like, you're going to have a hard time explaining to your Marine friends how you got beat up by a gay guy in Mickey Mouse ears. You know, and I might have got my butt whooped, but, you know, it was, I couldn't just let it go. It's just ridiculous, you know. And being a bigger man and not a tougher man, but I've been through construction, I've been through a lot of fights. Being that kind of man, I feel like I need to stand up, because a lot of other guys can't, you know, or whatever. I feel like I need to do something, and that's why Amnesty International kind of lets me at least do something with my life, because I haven't done much for anybody else, you know. It's always been about me, and no matter how good it looked towards everybody else, of course, everybody usually is all about, you know, we make choices based on our own wants and our own desires and needs. So I'm ready just to give back. I want to maybe help somebody. You know, if it takes one person just to be free, you know. And it don't matter. It don't matter where you're at. It don't matter what circumstances you're in. I'd rather die free, and I'd rather die an open gay male than live the rest of my life in absolute misery, fear, just total crushing spirit, like you're carrying around just 800,000 million pounds of stress and fear in your heart. I could never go back to that. I could never. Just do it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen if you stay in the closet or if you stay trapped inside that mentality is you could die that way. So what's the worst that can happen if you just let it explode? You know, one thing about the new generation, the millennials, is they're very accepting. I'm 37, so I'm 1 year out of it. But I think I'm X. But millennials are very accepting. The new generation, they've got open arms. They will love you no matter what. Most of them. You're always going to have the ones who, you know, don't understand, or they don't get it, or they think it's disgusting, or whatever their agenda. But for the most part, it's becoming a loving world. We are more accepting than I think the world has ever been. I know it goes back to the Greeks, you know, and stuff like that. But right now, in this day and age, is the time to be alive. The time to express who you are without, you know, anyone saying that's wrong or that's disgusting. You know, well, people are gonna say that, of course, but they, you know, straight people say it about, or gay people say it about straight people, you know. So it's just preference. And if we all keep self-identifying, then we're gonna identify ourselves into a very lonely class sometimes, because if we put ourselves in this little tiny box of a class and then we feel really lonely in that box, that's our fault. You know, if we just say that we are who we are, we love each other, that's it. I almost feel like we're so quick to try to defend who we are. We go into details about why it's okay, and really we shouldn't have to explain anything. We should just be able to say, that's just who I am. You know, why should I have to go into details about what I do in my house or in my bedroom or anything? It should just be, this is who I am. Accept me, love me, hate me, whatever, you know? Like Lady Gaga, she's so open about who she is. She's come a long way. She doesn't care anymore. She just decided to be herself, and look how amazing she is, you know? So the biggest thing I can say is just be yourself. Just let it go. God, you know, I mean, it's such a freeing thing. It's almost like being born twice. It's just all the cells in your body just explode and your heart races and you just, happiness just fills your body. Your wings come out and people just see your beauty finally. All those years you wanted to make a change, all those years you wanted to be yourself, all those years you wanted to go over and give somebody a hug, you can do that. You don't have to stay in that box. You can do whatever you want, even if it means somebody else gets offended or even hurts you in the process. It's better than staying trapped in a little box and being hurt for the rest of your life.